Great to have you with us on The Full View. The Prime Minister of the UK, Theresa May, now just has a few weeks to persuade lawmakers in that country to back the Brexit deal. She warned today that rejection could lead to even more division. This is after the other 27 EU leaders approved the terms of the UK's exit at a summit yesterday. Parliamentarians will decide whether or not to accept that package that's likely to go to a vote on the 12th of the month. Well, tonight we're looking at Brexit and the implications for South Africa, as well as trade between South Africa and the UK. Joining us in our parliamentary studios in Cape Town, the UK Commissioner to South Africa, Nigel Casey. Mr. Casey, thank you for being with us. Do you think this deal, I guess let's start with an idiot's guide, if you don't mind, sort of around movement of people, around trade. What does it mean?
Well, this is a big moment for the UK and it will open a new chapter in the UK's relationship with South Africa. Personally, I don't think it's going to mark a very abrupt change in our relationship with South Africa because a lot of our work with South Africa is already done bilaterally rather than necessarily through the EU. I think South Africans won't have any difficulty getting used to the idea that we're no longer a member of the EU, since for most of our shared history we haven't been a member. So the most important thing for us is to safeguard our economic relationship as we leave and to make sure there is no disruption to the existing arrangements for trade between the UK and South Africa, which are currently conducted through an EU agreement.
The idea was that if the UK moved further away from the EU, there would be more opportunities to trade with other partners like South Africa. Are there new opportunities for us?
Yes, I think in the future there will be. The most immediate task, however, is simply to ensure continuity of the current arrangements so that there is no disruption for businesses who are exporting to the UK from South Africa, from where I am today in the Western Cape, for example, after March the 29th next year. So what we are focused on is replicating the current terms of the existing EU economic partnership agreement with the SADC countries in order to make sure that whatever happens in the Brexit process between London and Brussels, there's no disruption for South African and British businesses.
And presumably government will work to ensure that there is no disruption affecting us or any other country.
Yes, and I'm pleased to say we've made very good progress with that process so far, but it is now an urgent task to finish the job, to get that agreement signed and sealed before the end of this year so that it can be ratified by the parliaments in all the countries concerned, including South Africa and the UK, before the 29th of March. It's essential that we do that for our businesses, to give them absolute confidence that there will be no disruption whatever happens in politics in the UK.
Hi, Commissioner. Please, can we go back to that idiot's guide? I'd love you to educate us, people who haven't been following this blow by blow. What has been agreed to in terms of the movement of people? I think a lot of people understand that was a contentious issue, as well as trade with EU countries.
So what's been agreed yesterday are two documents. One is a very large 585-page document which is about our withdrawal. That covers, importantly, the issue of citizens' rights, the rights of the 3 million EU citizens currently living in the UK and the 1 million Brits who currently live in other EU member states. Although free movement will come to an end between the UK and the EU, the agreement and the future framework declaration set out the likely terms of the kind of relationship in terms of people's rights to move between the two countries that will exist after we've left. But a lot of that detail will have to be negotiated in the next phase as we negotiate what's called our future relationship in the period after March the 29th next year.
So nearly half the country didn't want to leave. Those that did want to leave, many of them saying this isn't the deal that they voted for. It is wishy-washy. I guess the question is, was it always going to be like this?
Well, the referendum in 2016 delivered a small but decisive majority for leaving the European Union, and the government which Theresa May has headed since then has seen it as its first task to deliver on the decision in that referendum, which means negotiating the best possible arrangements between the UK and the EU consistent with leaving as per the mandate of that referendum. So that's what the Prime Minister has done, and she's going to be recommending the deal to Parliament and to the country over the next couple of weeks.
So you've been a diplomat watching from abroad, seeing what's going on in your country, some tumultuous times. Can you tell us what you really think of this deal?
Well, look, I represent my government. I represent the government of the day. That's what professional public servants in the UK do. Luckily, my personal views don't get shared with anybody beyond my own home. But it's our job to get on with delivering the policy of the government of the day. We are doing our bit at the South Africa end by making sure with our colleagues in the South African DTI that there's no disruption to business between South Africa and the UK as we complete the process. And we've got an important job to finish. So my message today is let's get on and finish the job.
All right, I won't push you on that, but can you give us a vision for the future? Say this really goes through. There were predictions that the UK would try and be a tax haven, that it would re-engineer it. It was trying to keep those banks there. What does the UK of the future look like after Brexit?
Well, I think, as you will have seen from the political declaration that came out about our future relationship, we're going to have a close relationship with the EU. It's our largest trading partner. It's on our doorstep. It's not going to go away. We're not going to go away. And so that relationship will be close, and our businesses will continue to trade with the EU. The new emphasis, if you like, will be on re-engaging, reinvesting in our relationships around the world, including with countries like South Africa. That was very much the message that our Prime Minister brought here in August when she visited Cape Town. We are busy expanding our diplomatic network, our trade and investment capacities around the world, particularly here in Africa, with the intention of, as I say, spreading our wings as we leave the EU.
All right, thank you very much. Nigel Casey, the UK High Commissioner to South Africa, from our studio in Parliament. Remember, you can comment on